Ah! Allow me a brief moment to vent. When I was a young boy, me and my brother shared an Xbox 360 and all of its games. This was during the time when 90% of one's games were physical, and one of those physical games we had was Assassin's Creed 2. My mom at the time prevented me from playing such games, but I'll admit I did it anyways when they weren't looking. I remember playing Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and constantly checking my door when the sex scene at the beginning of the game appeared. Somehow, someway, my brother's and I's physical copy of AC2 just split in half, and to this day it remains a mystery to me. Because God hates me specifically, I was blamed for breaking it, and while I didn't get in any trouble, my brother was very upset with me for a while for breaking our copy of AC2, even though it wasn't even my damn fault. I didn't play Assassin's Creed 2 for a long time until the tail end of the last console generation when I got the Ezio collection, and nostalgia goggles be damned, that game was as good as I remember. Everyone often says AC2 is the best game in the series, and I think I'll agree. It took every interesting concept from the first game and expanded on them while also giving it something the first game lacked, like an interesting story and protagonist. To this day, I think the whole Ezio trilogy is the best story Ubisoft has ever made, though it wasn't the last. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is, in my honest opinion, the last well-written game Ubisoft has, and to this day has remained so. We live in an interesting time in the gaming sphere, live service games coming and going in the blink of an eye, the alleged woke invasion of modern games, which is a debate I'm not interested in, and the increase of modern games because of supposed inflation, which totally isn't real, by the way. Make things cheaper or I'll just steal it. All that and more, and if there's one company who's collected all these hot topics like they're the fucking Dragon Balls, it would be everyone's favorite Eurotard studio, Ubisoft. Ubisoft are a funny bunch. Once a company who pushed the boundaries of making games and prevalent trendsetters in the industry, have devolved over the past few years to how can we copy this company's game idea while also designing the most fucking bongwater UI imaginable. People like to clown on the modern COD's UI, but name one Ubisoft game from the past 5 years that had a better one. At least COD doesn't have a fucking cursor for console players. Or maybe they do. The last COD I played was Modern Warfare 2 2022, and I don't think it had a cursor. Ubisoft has really fallen from grace this past decade. As I said at the start, I honestly think Black Flag was the last well-written Ubisoft game. I'm trying my absolute best to remember a Ubi game that came out after Black Flag that was nearly as good, and honest to God, I'm blanking. Watch Dogs 1 wasn't very good objectively, but I kind of had a soft spot for it, and only the first one. Far Cry 4 and 5 were entertaining, but 4 was just, let's do Handsome Jack, but make him look like a lesbian, and 5's vibes were good, but was the start of my biggest gripe with modern Ubisoft games. Ubisoft loves their open worlds. I'm pretty sure every single player game they make anymore is an open world. Even so, in an open world game, most of the time the story still follows a single path, with some branching occasionally. What modern Gooby open worlds do, though, is say, fuck the main story. Let's have each region have a self-contained story that ties back into the main plot in the barest way imaginable. Or if you're AC Valhalla, nothing will have anything to do with the main story until the very end when it remembers it did have a main plot to finish. It makes it so hard to bond with characters when they're hardly present at all. No, I don't feel bad about banging Sigurd's wife. I hardly knew him. His wife may as well have been a widow with how little presence he had. I understand the idea of giving each region its own story because since the players will travel anywhere at their own pace, it's hard to keep them on a central path. But damn, don't make these stories completely separate from the main story until the very end. You're just wasting my time, fucker. You know, this video wasn't even supposed to be about Gooby's world design. I just got very heated and lost the plot until now. What I wanted to speak about today was what Ubisoft is up to nowadays and how their constant failure these past few years is ultimately a good thing. Ubisoft, like many AAA companies, are investing very heavily into the live service model of video games. I get it, it's basically GTA 5 Infinite Money Glitch if you make a successful one, but that's a huge fucking if. To loosely quote Yahtzee Croshaw from Second Wind, you can't consume an entire person's free time twice. Everyone already has a live service they're invested in, and it takes a lot to pull them away from their current one into a new title. The pool for live service games is tiny. Only a few can exist at a given time before everyone has settled on a game, and the rest are simply doomed to fail because no one wants to jump ship. It's why we see failures like Concord, Marvel's Avengers, and any Ubisoft game that isn't Rainbow Six Siege. And there's like Hyperscape. It was meant to be a competitor in the Battle Royale space, but people have already decided that they like Fortnite and Apex, and there was just simply no room for that game. It only lasted about 2 years before shutting down, and during that time, Gooby was even paying people to play it because it was performing so poorly. People crowned X-Defiant as a Call of Duty killer until the new COD came out, and I haven't heard a peep from that game since. While we're on the topic of XDefiant, I want to bitch about something because it seriously pisses me off. So many people were upset with Black Ops 4 being too similar to a hero shooter with things like special characters with unique abilities, and then they attempt to put XDefiant on a pedestal despite being the exact same thing. It's COD, but with light hero shooter mechanics, and people tried to praise this game. People shit on this concept 6 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's good? Bollocks, I say. I've never strayed from my path. I thought this concept was ass when Black Ops 4 did it, and I still think it's ass now. I'll keep it a $1.50. I never played XDefiant, and I don't plan to. I watched FaZe Jeb's first video, and by the time that video went up, people had already optimized the fun out of the game. To be honest, I just hardly play any PvP games anymore because I think I'm just getting too old these days to keep up with all the sweats. I see people slide canceling and flicking their mouse around when playing COD, and looking at it gives me the same pain in my neck I get when you look up for too long. Honestly, the dumbest thing Gooby could have ever done was compete with COD. I'm not a believer in something being too big to fail, as Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws clearly showed, but I think COD might just be too big to fail. I mean, do I even need to bring up this one? I think we all know how this ended. Before I move on, though, I want to quickly bring up just how much I fucking hate this game's logo. Honest to God, the worst skull and crossbones in human history. We're supposed to be playing as 17th century pirates, not Zoomer graffiti artists. I hope whichever dipshit made that logo lost their job because I think it's the worst logo Ubisoft has ever made. That's just their multiplayer side of things. As mentioned, Star Wars Outlaws was considered to have underperformed, which probably led to someone at Disney having a few Ubisoft employees assassinated. Prince of Persia was also considered not successful enough to keep the studio around, and let's be real, was anyone actually interested in this game? I didn't play it for the sole reason that the main character had a stupid haircut. Yes, I am that petty. The company has been taking a lot of losses recently, and if you ask me, I think it's for the best if the company just continues to fail and goes under. Siege is keeping them afloat for now, but not enough to pay 21,000 employees. Their major lifeline right now is AC Shadows, which I hope to God Almighty it fails because it would be so funny. Not because of Yasuke, let me make that clear. I just want this to fail because I think if it does, Ubisoft might not recover from it and would ultimately be for the best. Oh, but Tom Jack, what about all the innocent developers who will lose their jobs? They did nothing wrong.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
I am being slightly hyperbolic. The entire company itself doesn't need to go under, but repeated failure might just be the solution regardless. I think everyone can agree that it's the fault of Yves Guillemot and his gay French family that Ubisoft is on a downward spiral. I truly believe that so long as this family continues to run Ubisoft, that things will only get worse. I love games like Assassin's Creed, and while I really wish I hated For Honor, I always find myself back there somehow. I want these franchises to succeed, but as things as they are now, that's just not going to be the case. After Immortals Fenyx Rising, I decided that I wouldn't purchase another Ubisoft game ever again. It mainly stemmed when that French fuck said gamers shouldn't own their games anymore, in which I decided to get ahead of the curve and not own any Ubisoft games anymore. It's funny because my most played Ubi games like Siege and For Honor are games I didn't even pay for. My brother bought them and through the home Xbox system, I got them as well. I've been dodging giving Ubisoft money since before it was cool. People losing their jobs is inevitable if Gooby continues to fail, though I think that might be one of their core issues as well. 21,000 is far too many employees to make games. People try to say that games are taking longer to make in this day and age, and let me break it to you and just say that that is straight up false. Games take forever because too much money is poured into them thinking that a big budget alone will make a game successful, which just isn't, as some games have proven. It will suck if Ubisoft has to face mass layoffs, but hey, so long as JC loses his job, I'll consider it a Pyrrhic victory. Holy shit, I forgot about the funny NFT scams. If you've kept up to date on Gooby controversy, you've probably heard of their NFT project called Ubisoft Quartz, which has been radio silence because NFTs died faster than they lived, but Quartz has come back with the release of a new NFT game called I forgot. Champions Tactics Grimoria Chronicles. Holy smokes, that might be worse than Immortals Fenyx Rising. The only thing I know about this game is that some of the NFTs can cost up to 50k mom bucks, and this funny clip I saw from the Free Roam podcast.
But it launches, here we go. And then a little splash screen, and it crashes. No. You can't even play it.
I'm guessing this thing will probably be shut down before the end of January next year. No one asked for this, no one will buy this. It is a waste of resources that will end up damaging Ubisoft even more. In conclusion, I don't think Ubi as a whole needs to fail, but I think their failures will ultimately do good in the end, assuming the Guillemot family actually loses their positions over this. There is some speculation that these failures are intentional so Ubisoft gets devalued and the Guillemots can buy the whole company and take it private, which if that happens, it would be the guaranteed death of Gooby. Can we just, like, kill this guy or something? In Minecraft. I don't condone killing billionaires, I'm just a supporter of other people who might fester similar thoughts. Obligatory like and subscribe line, and I know this video was a lot more negative compared to my last one, but I think it was needed. Like a palate cleanser, getting all the negativity out of the way to make room for more positive videos. Maybe I'll make a really random video like how Tomboys or the Master Race or something. I don't know, I'll figure it out. I just wanted to get all this off my chest because For Honor has ruined my life, and I want everyone associated with that game to suffer horribly.